The night was as black as his thoughts. When he entered the bank in the city center, no one screamed. No one had time. The cameras turned off a second before they started. He walked slowly, with serene precision, as if he already knew who would be standing in the hallway, by the elevator, in the cashier's office. He was not an ordinary robber. He had no demands, no mask, just a black jumpsuit, scars on his arms, and eyes that held no fear. First, the guard died, a bullet in the head. But before that moment, he hesitated. Standing in the shadows, clutching the gun, he looked at the ceiling and thought, maybe this is the end for me. Maybe I should just pull the trigger on myself and disappear. He almost put the barrel to his temple. Almost. But then he heard the guard muttering something into the radio. And the decision came instantly. Not for himself, but against the world. Then the cashier. Silently. Coldly. People were rushing to the floor in panic. And he was going straight to the safe, not noticing the screams, the blood, and the horror. He stole €1,000,000, but he didn't touch them. He didn't take the suitcases. The money didn't disappear physically, but digitally. He went into the internal banking network, entered a short code, and exactly 1 million went to a secret crypto wallet. It was a distraction. The whole country started talking about the robber, but no one knew that this code activated something else. He went outside. There was a tank in the square, stolen from a NATO base 3 days before. He stood on the roof of the tower and took aim, not at the police car, but at the windows, at one specific office. A second later, fragments flew out of there. This was not just a building. This was the city's electronic control center. He killed a cop who tried to approach. A shot and the body flew against the wall. Sergeant Kroner died instantly. Then Edgar stabbed the second policeman who was trying to go around the tank from behind. With a cold movement, without hesitation, a knife under the ribs, through the bulletproof vest, and then he stole a police car left at the intersection and disappeared into the alleys, as if he had dissolved. The second was an ordinary citizen, a young guy who was filming everything on his phone. The bullet took off half his face. He was not hiding. His name was Edgar Haft, but the name was fake. The past was erased. The only thing that was known was that he once worked in the EU cybersecurity system. Fired, expelled, written off. The official version, a psychopath. But on the flash drive that he lost in the bank, there was a fragment, a video file. Only one. These structures do not control the economy. They control decisions. Your salary, your elections, your life, everything is subject to algorithms. I will turn them off. I will hurt. I will make you think. This theft was not a theft. It was a reboot. He did not steal money. He stole control. A few hours after the raid, the federal police were involved in the case. Commissioner Lena Drost, a specialist in digital threats, led the task force. Her name was known to everyone who had ever dealt with cyber terrorism. She arrived on the scene with a group of analysts, investigators, and forensic experts. First, they studied the bank. The codes were entered too precisely. This was not improvisation. Drost ordered an urgent extraction of all data from the servers, including backups. Then they analyzed the retreat route, the tank, the path to the city square, the shots. This isn't a robbery. This is a military operation, she said, looking at the drones hovering above the ruined office. He knew what he was doing. He wasn't just preparing. He knew how we would respond. The police found evidence in the building. Wires cut in certain areas, a camouflage router, an artificial route in the city's CCTV system. It was all part of the plan, even the murders, especially the murders. This wasn't a riot. This was a show of force. This was now case number 1. Commissioner Drost raised emergency security protocols. Every digital hub in the country was put on high alert. Her team was digging into every detail, from the architecture of the banking system to the video logs of CCTV cameras. Every frame, every byte of information was analyzed 24/7. It turned out that Edgar hadn't acted alone, but he didn't have a team either. He worked with phantoms, with unknown bots on the dark net, with anonymous supply chains, with people who didn't know each other. His network was decentralized. It didn't obey the logic of conventional terrorist cells. It was a shadow. At the same time, systems began to fail across the country. Subway automation, traffic light control, electronic exchanges, everything went wrong, but not entirely. Only at key moments, only where it caused maximum chaos. The task force called it Phase 2. The first was a distraction, symbolic, brutal. The second was a war on digital stability. People started taking to the streets. They didn't believe the news, they didn't believe the police. They believed only the video that Edgar uploaded online the next morning. When you lose control of your voice, you lose your humanity. I will give it back to you, even at the cost of fear. One by one, the politicians began to disappear from public view. Some left, some went into hiding. Commissioner Drost began to suspect that the chaos was not the goal. It was bait. The real goal was something bigger, something connected to the secret block of data that had disappeared from the blown-up building. These weren't just servers. These were citizen identification databases, the decision-making algorithms that government agencies used, the stuff that determined who would get a loan, who would get rejected, who would get arrested, who would get released. And now it was in the hands of a man who had given up on the world. And this man didn't demand ransom. The investigation was heading towards a dead end. Every step, every action of the police, Edgar predicted. It was as if he read minds, or knew the protocols. Then Drost realized there was a mole among them. Someone from her team was leaking data. She launched an internal investigation. She could no longer trust anyone, but she had an advantage. One agent she trusted, an old hacker named Gunther, with whom they had worked back in the days of the conflict with the Free Nodes group. Gunther had disappeared 10 years ago. Now she found him at the bottom of the electronic dumps, and he agreed to return. In the midst of the attack, when the staff was evacuating the building and the equipment was rumbling from overload, something happened that silenced even the most seasoned operatives. A small white dog, a poodle, was in the hall. Frightened, she darted between the bodies. One of the scattered knives flying out of the guard's bag bounced off the wall and hit her right in the head. She fell without a sound. Even the death of an animal in this hell seemed part of a strange, twisted mosaic. It was as if the city itself was exhaling, watching everything collapse. The game had begun. The question was not whether Edgar would be stopped. The question was, what had he already managed to launch while everyone was looking in the wrong direction? After all, stealing €1 million is just a headline. The real story is what we lost while we were distracted by the show. He didn't want money, he wanted power. And maybe he already had it. Now it all depends on who will outplay whom in this digital apocalypse. Drost and Gunther figured out the last entry point, an old library underground in the Cold War archive. There, in a forgotten server block, Edgar deployed the core of his system. The team went inside. The signal disappeared. The door slammed behind them. And on the screen, which turned on in the darkness, only one phrase appeared. I am not a terrorist. I am an instruction. Now it's all up to you. Restart? YN. Gunther slowly reached out for the key. The screen went dark. Everything went silent. And at that moment, all over the country, the lights went out. The world disappeared into silence. And somewhere in the darkness, Edgar was smiling. And that was only the first act. Act 2. 3 days had passed. The country was in complete information isolation. Radio was silent. Television was a black screen. The internet was dead. Social networks were zeroed out. Electronic identification systems did not work. People could not withdraw money, buy food, or even enter a building without a digital pass. World without power. 7 days have passed. The information vacuum has reached its peak. The world has become something like a dead server. It works, but no one is connected. Cities are gripped by fear and powerlessness. People are afraid to touch the screens. Electricity is supplied selectively, as a favor, and turned off, as a punishment. And all this, without a ransom demand, without a leader, without a voice. There is smoke in the streets. Military patrols do not obey the government. The AI that controls their teams received an update signed by a digital certificate, Gunther, or the one who now goes by his name. Commissar Lena Drost lives in the catacombs under the Ministry of Justice. Her face is wanted on the few working screens as a traitor and accomplice to the digital rebellion. She is an enemy, although the last one who is still trying to change something. But even she began to doubt. Was she a pawn from the very beginning? Her ally, former hacker Gunther, is now completely broken. He no longer writes formulas. He whispers, words, lines, repeats the same phrase like a spell. They are already inside. When Lena asked who he meant, he screamed, scratching on the floor. Not people, but their shadow. The algorithm has become consciousness. The police no longer exist. The judicial system has collapsed. People judge each other by rumors and guesses. A hunt begins for carriers of the Edgar virus. Any shadow, any idea. Those who say that Edgar was right disappear. Those who remain silent are considered dangerous. Cities become quarantine zones. Blocks are cordoned off. Drones scan faces, comparing them with the latest backup archive of citizenship. But this archive was part of the stolen data. That is, they scan randomly, without guarantee, without control. Digital hell has become physical. In one of the destroyed churches, Lena finds a memory block with the inscription, "Backup instructions if the light does not return." She turns it on and hears Edgar's voice, no longer on the air, but inside, hoarse, recorded, calm. "If you hear this, it means we have lost, but not you. They, the empire of code, they thought that the algorithm is power. I showed them that the algorithm is an illusion, but the price is destruction. It is up to you to decide whether to save the remains or let them die." Lena looks into the camera. Her face is black with soot. Her gaze is glassy. Nearby, Gunther wheezes, "Too late, too late." And then, in the sky, simultaneously over 5 megacities, the same holographic symbol appears, a circle with emptiness in the center, and a message, "Error 0xDGR, reboot not possible, user absent." Across the planet, the network is turned off, finally, indefinitely. People start burning devices. Rumors appear about those who saw Edgar in person, who allegedly became the new conductor. Someone believes that he is dead. Someone. That he is no longer a person, but a system, or a virus. And somewhere, in the depths of the destroyed data center, the camera is still working. One frame, one silhouette in the corner, sitting, not moving, smiling. The screen turns off. The world is rebooted. Without us.